Greetings, everyone. I am Pete Pardo from Sea of Tranquility. Welcome to pick number 13 of my top 30 favorite title tracks of all time. Lucky 13, perhaps. It's a band that I love quite a bit that will be featured today. Of course, song has to be on the album of the same name. One of these is kind of tricky for me. We'll get to that in just a minute. And if we have like a band that has multiple title tracks that you absolutely love that would make your list, you put them all on one episode, count them as one pick, right? That's what we're doing. So we're squeezing. So it's actually not a top 30, right? It's top 50, top 60, whatever the hell it works out to be, right? Today's pick, again, another one of those bands that has a few. The first choice comes from their album that was released February 10th, 1978, recorded at Chipping Norton Studios in Oxfordshire and Utopia Studios in London, England. Produced by James Guthrie, Dennis McKay, and the band themselves for Columbia Records. I'm talking about, hold on, I have them out of order here. Stained Class by Judas Priest. Yes, indeed. Probably the one on this list of favorites here, which maybe isn't quite as much the classic as the rest of them, but I still love it. This comes from one of my favorite albums of all time. It's on a side of vinyl that starts off with Exciter, White Heat, Red Hot, Better by Me, Better by You, Better Than Me, the Spooky Tooth cover, Stained Class, and then Invader. But Stained Class is so good. What a killing riff in that. Just such a bulldozing track. Again, weirdly placed. It's track number 4 on side 1, 5 songs. Maybe Stained Class would have been better off finishing up the side. I don't know. Invader's a pretty good side closer. I mean, that's the thing when you have so many strong songs on an album like this. It's like, where do you put the title track? So maybe it's exactly where it needed to be. It wouldn't work kicking off side 2, because side 2 kicks off with Saints in Hell, which is amazing. Maybe it would work better, Hero's End closes out the album. I kind of think Hero's End fits there. This is one of those instances where I think maybe where it is quite okay. It's kind of buried in the album. I think Stained Class is maybe overshadowed by 3 or 4 other tracks on the album, but it's still great, in my opinion. So that's my first pick from Judas Priest. Second, so here's where it gets a little interesting. Because over in the UK, this was not a title track. Here in the States, it was, because there's a different name for the album here in the States. Over in the UK, this was released November 1978, recorded at Utopia and CBS Studios in London, England, produced by James Guthrie and the band for CBS Columbia. Over in the UK, the album was called Killing Machine, which is the version that I have, the remaster that I have, but I've always known this as Hellbent for Leather, and we're talking about the title track to Hellbent for Leather, right? Same cover art, everything else the same, just different title. I guess, Killing Machine didn't go over so well for folks here in the States, so they were kind of like, no, we need to change that. And once again, the title track is number 4 on side 1 out of 5 tracks. No disrespect to Delivering the Goods, which is a really, really cool song. I think Hellbent for Leather would have been an amazing album opener. Or even to open up side 2 instead of Burning Up. To me, I think Hellbent for Leather is and again, it's the one of the songs on this album that always got the most attention. So really, it's almost like it doesn't matter. But I think this song would have been so much better placed first on either side A or side B, or side 1 or side 2, however you look at it. But great stuff on here nonetheless. And, a classic album. I haven't talked about people who play on these things, but, Rob Halford, KK Downing, Glenn Tipton, Ian Hill, Les Binks, Dave Holland. Great stuff. Great stuff from this band. Another classic album from Judas Priest. But wait, there's more. So we're going to fast forward a little bit to an album released on July 1st, 1982, July 9th in the US, July 9th in the UK, recorded at Ibiza Sound Studios in Spain, Spain, as well as BJ Studios in Orlando, Florida, produced by Tom Allom for Columbia Records. I'm talking about Screaming for Vengeance. Yes. One of my favorite songs on the album, and rightfully placed as the first song on side 2. To me, this album has a great lead-in track, or tracks, I should say, on side 1. The Hellion and Electric Eye. Doesn't get much better than that. What a 1-2 punch. Shit, what a 1-2-3 punch Four Punch, the Hellion Electric Eye Riding on the Wind, and Bloodstone. That's the way you open up an album. Yeah, Take These Chains and Pain and Pleasure. I've never been a huge fan of either of those songs. They're okay. And then on side 2, it kicks off with Screaming for Vengeance, probably the heaviest song on the album. And then the big hit, You Got Another Thing Coming, then you got Fever and Devil's Child. But to me, both sides of this album kind of are a little on the limp side, finishing up and start off great. Because to me, I have always gravitated towards everything on this album other than Take These Chains, Pain and Pleasure, Fever, and Devil's Child. I don't dislike any of those songs. They're just not my favorites. I like everything else more. Nowadays, I'm really sick of You Got Another Thing Coming. But man, the first 4 tracks, leading off side 1 and Screaming for Vengeance over on side 2, doesn't get much better than that. Killer stuff. And lastly, because you know there's one more, and you know the one that it is, right? Certainly isn't Turbo Lover, because, you know, album is called Turbo Lover, right? But that's not what I'm picking. It's got to be Painkiller, released September 17th, 1990, recorded Miraval Studios in France and Whistlewood Studios in the Netherlands, produced by Chris Sangarides for Columbia Records. Yeah, Painkiller. I mean, how about that opening drum blast from brand new guy Scott Travis, right? So good. And then the raging riffs. Again, Painkiller, one of the great opening tracks of all time. And as much as I like a good touch of the rest of this album, for what, you know, there's one of those things that I listened to this album a ton back in the day. I still love Painkiller. I still love stuff like Touch of Evil and All Guns Blazing. I find I don't listen to Painkiller, the album, all that much anymore. I don't find that I like this album as much as I used to. I still think it's a very solid record for them, and, you know, a really great return to form after a couple questionable albums. But I find, like, quite frankly, I listen to a lot of the more recent Judas Priest albums more than I listen to this one. I just don't think I like as much of it as I used to like. But I still think Painkiller is absolutely amazing. That is just a bruising barn burner of a track and one of the great opening title tracks on any album of all time. So yeah, those are my picks. Painkiller, Screaming for Vengeance, Hellbent for Leather, and Stained Class from the mighty Judas Priest. Yeah, there are others. I think Rock and Roll is a great song, and, you know, I almost picked Firepower. I think Firepower is great. Would they have made my original list? No, I like them a lot. Maybe not quite up to the speed of these, right? So that's why you get these 4. So yeah, so let us know what you think of these Judas Priest title tracks down in the comments below, as well as your pick for today. And we'll see you tomorrow for number 12. Till then, visit us on the web at www.seatranquility.org. We're on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram all the damn time. Tune in for the Monsters Den coming up at you tonight. We're going to talk about some giant monster films that we really like. We've got the live album Love with Rick Labonte tomorrow morning. We're going to be moving on in the alphabet. We're going to be showing off and talking about some live albums that we really dig from bands and artists that start with the letter D. We've got the Professor's Picks tomorrow. We've got UK Connection, very fun show. Don't miss it on Saturday, where we talk about bands that we've taken the plunge on because we really like that one song that we heard. And as it turns out, we really don't like much of anything else by them. So it's kind of like those one-song wonders, right? We only really like the one song. We've tried, but we can't get into the rest of the catalog. So that's coming up on Saturday. We've also Friday, we've got another 4 Fusion Song Battle coming up Friday evening. Forgot about that. We got 3 things coming up tomorrow. And then speaking of 3, we've got 3 Ranking the Album shows coming up on Sunday. Ranking the Albums of Lion, ranking the albums of Artemis Pyle and the Artemis Pyle Band, and ranking the albums of At the Gates. So stay tuned for all that and more. I am Pete Pardo. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.